The video we're going to be covering today was sent to myself and a couple of others on Twitter. Unfortunately, I can't remember who sent it, so thank you, but I can't remember who you are. Sorry. The video in question is called Sexual Racism, so I think the topic is fairly obvious. And today's fan art was made by Danielle. I'm probably going to mess up your last name, but if it's like Graham, this could be Braham or Braham? Braham. That sounds cool. Sure. Thank you very kindly for this art. I actually love it. Now let's get started.
Hi, my name is Dr. Lindsay Doe.
Hello, Dr. Lindsay.
Recently, I went to NerdCon Nerdfighteria, and on the first day sat down with Lacey Green and Matthew Gatos to do a Q&A about sex.
Also a panel of pros then.
Someone from the audience asked if having partner preferences for a certain racialized group is a form of discrimination, as in, if I will only date Mexicans, is that racist?
Mexican is not a race, it is a nationality, and I thought you should know that. Now, to answer the question that was asked of you, no. I say no because the question is shallow and your example to reason the question was incorrect. I see no harm in preference or having a preference. Granted, this particular one is skin deep, but it is a personal choice and they never indicated, or you yourself have not indicated, whether the person held this same view for friendships and platonic relationships.
Yes.
I wonder if you could tell me the race of the person who asked the question. Because I'd be very interested to know if you hold this same view or you would answer the question the same way if a non-white person asked.
Racism is a belief that all members of a racialized group are the same in some way that's inferior or superior to other racialized groups.
So if a white girl wants to fuck a black man, does that mean she believes that black men are superior, or is she just fetishizing them by choice?
So if you believe that all people of one group are less attractive, less worthy, less whatever your dating or sexual expectations, then that's racist.
You're about to go into how it's a societal thing that causes people to find certain groups more attractive, aren't you?
Which, as it turns out, most of us are.
That is quite the assertion, and I can't wait to read some of your delightful sources that confirm this.
Matchmaker Emma Tessler, who has worked with thousands to find love, is very aware of people's racial preferences, and she says no one likes being called racist, but it's hard for her to find another word to refer to people making negative assessments of large groups of individuals that they've never met based solely on the color of their skin.
I wonder, does she go out of her way to then tell her clients they are racist for wanting or desiring one particular racial group, or person from that particular racial group?
She continues, this is about social forces shaping our preferences, and we will never progress without acknowledging that fact.
As I've watched your video through, I've noticed you seem to be centering around predominantly white nations. This is a mistake that's going to come to bite you on the backside later on, I promise you.
For the record, 55% of Emma's clients identify as white, and 90% of her clients have racial preferences, 89.9% of them for white partners. The question I'm concerned with is why?
Because that particular lady is operating out of North America or Canada, countries which are predominantly white. Hardly a shocker that countries that have a large white population are going to find them more desirable as they are within that country, the larger population. There's obviously only one solution here: mass genocide. Or blackface. I guess there's two options.
The human mind works to find shortcuts so we don't have to think so hard.
Finding an easier solution to a problem that has a typically complicated way around it is a good thing. It makes life easier.
You see fire or sharp teeth or a gaping hole in the ground, and it's these shortcuts based on experiences or lessons passed down that go, beware, careful, you probably want to go around the hole.
True. Or build something to get over it. While complicated, it is a quicker route than going around. Just take longer when you build it. But once it's built, everyone can go over it. Or even simpler, fill the hole in.
Similarly, the smell of cinnamon or the sound of snoring might indicate that things are calm. Food is being made, someone nearby is resting. They're shortcuts. Where they become harmful is when we only rely on them and stop thinking complexly.
You want people to live in a state of perpetual overthink? That sounds like effort. I like the shortcuts. For example, I don't like to have sex with retards. As you are one, there's no chance of us having sex.
Take, for example, judging people. Who are the 5 sexiest people you can think of?
Crowds and T, Jeff Holiday, Sugar Tits, Roaming Millennial, because seriously, she's hot. And the actor that portrayed Wrath of Controversy. Wow.
They're probably celebrities.
No. Don't assume what I'd find attractive. Apparently it's mixed-race Asian women. Giggity.
What happens when we search online for sexiest people? They're mostly white celebrities. This is because Hollywood tells the stories of white attractive people in multidimensional roles, and other racialized groups, not so much.
Do you remember earlier when I said it would come to bite you on the backside? This is the first instance of when it comes to bite you on the backside. When you used Google to find the sexiest people, you did it with the American Google search engine. If you used Google in Japan, you'd pull up sexiest Japanese women. If you did it in Pakistan, you'd pull up the sexiest Pakistani women, and so on. Using a search engine default setting within your own country is a particularly weak argument.
It's getting better, but ultimately shows and films foster the idea that white is good-looking, intelligent, successful, and basically the default. So the shortcut in our brains goes white, good, white, standard.
Assertion, 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 born out of ill logic. Congratulations. I now understand why you were on a panel with Lacey Green.
Similarly, because of media depictions and our affinity for these shortcuts, Black becomes struggle, Asian, nerdy, Latinx, macho, Muslim, foreign, and so on.
You mean those stereotypes that are predominantly true are bad? Maybe you should tell them that. Tell Black communities that it is bad that they look like they struggle, or struggle in general. Tell any and all Asian communities that being a geek is bad even if it's by choice. And tell Muslims, you look like foreigners, you need to change this. Here's some skin bleach. Or you can take the easier option, tell white people that they are bad people and should feel guilty for thinking anything that could challenge racial ideas or stereotypes, because they're white and they have all the power and privilege that society has benefited them.
Until every nuance of voice, eye shape, skin tone, lip movement, and dress are associated with a snap judgment.
Does this also apply to things like assuming a straight white man has all the privilege, power, patriarchy?
One of the things Skylar Nicole brought up when we talked about her work in the porn industry is that lower demand for Black performers means lower pay. Even though she's doing the same kind and amount of work as her colleagues, the higher level of melanin in her skin means she makes less money.
I don't think that's why she's making less money. I think it's about supply and demand. I understand the concept of equal pay for equal work, but in this instance she is an individual performer like actors and actresses. If they're doing the same job, surely everyone across the board should get the same amount of money. Someone should go and tell Jennifer Lawrence that. Maybe she'll share some of the $50 million she made last year. And while it is a concern for this particular performer that she's not making as much and blames it on the skin colour, it is well known that male performers get paid the least because they're just studs.
To quote anti-racism activist Jane Elliott, pigmentation should have nothing to do with how you treat another person.
Not applicable if you're referring to supply and demand within the adult industry. And let's not forget, quality is better than quantity. For all we know, this particular performer who's not making as much and blames it on her skin colour may not put out the same quality work as somebody else like her with the same colour skin.
I would add, or whether or not you get off to them.
A small part of me is wondering whether or not you are someone that lives by your own words or whether or not you're a massive hypocrite. A very short Facebook search has me leaning towards the latter.
Here's the science. Research participants who explicitly expressed positive attitudes toward white and Black people were tested on their implicit attitudes, what they think subconsciously about race. They were asked to quickly categorize words that popped up on a screen as negative or positive after an image of a Black person or white person's face was shown. Like this: happy, positive, fear, negative, anger, negative, peace, positive, and so on. The results? When the images were of Black faces, participants categorized negative words faster and positive words slower.
So I took the liberty of looking at the sources you provide in the description, and one of them that popped out, it screamed to me and made me feel like everything you say in this video is utterly invalid. Everyday feminism. If ever there was a possibility to absolutely, unequivocally just write off what that person says, it's that source. It totally invalidates you. And I'm not joking. It is one of the most disgusting, biased websites I've ever come across.
What this shows is that knowingly or not, it is easy to associate good with white and not good with non-white.
You don't suppose that has anything to do with the crime statistics in your country now, does it? I mean, you can perpetuate some things as myth and use syllogisms to try and flip it. But the end result is these crimes proportionately are committed more by certain groups. Do you still want to blame white people for that? Because people that write for everyday feminism will do that.
Institutional racism is at work here. That means racism established in our history, socially pervasive and methodically executed by our policymakers, corporations, schools, law enforcement, etc.
I love the segue from preferences to institutional racism. All it does for me is confirm that you are somebody that is ashamed of your own whiteness. Granted, you could yourself be mixed race. I honestly couldn't tell and don't care. But there's some white there, and there's only one way to get rid of it. Apologize, recognize, and get the boot polish and start scrubbing it on your skin.
So what do we do? Well, if you don't want to be racist sexually or otherwise, you start by acknowledging that you are.
You've been reading the Healing from Toxic Whiteness course, haven't you? That is, in fact, taken from one of the modules. I know this because I've been making a video on it. It's taking a while, but I will get there.
Make a list of 10 countries and next to each one, write a prejudice that you or your society has about people from there.
Geography is not one of my strong suits, so I'm instead going to say that I judge the individual on their actions. It's how I've always operated, it's how I will continue to operate. When you use and take a lot of your own phrasing, wording from everyday feminism, I know you're a fucking moron.
Why you wouldn't date them. Then, one by one, find evidence to negate the snap judgment or shortcut in your mind and make a new pathway.
How about this? I'm instead going to find whoever I want to find attractive, and if they're taken, wait for them to be single, and then pounce on them. I'm talking to you, Jeff.
This will hopefully help with racist thinking. To address racist behaviors, swipe right on Tinder profiles if the person's from a racialized group you'd usually pass up. Don't set racial restrictions on your dating profiles, and go on dates with all the people and listen.
And my advice is if you're going to date somebody that is only interested in your skin color, you're a muppet and that person needs to die alone. They are only interested in the aesthetics, and that says a lot about how shallow the person is, although it also indicates they may be a very easy bang. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Attraction is in part influenced by proximity, how close we are in physical space to others, and mere exposure effect, which is how often we come in contact with them.
So what you're implying here is that people should look to travel more, broaden their horizons, explore other communities. I'm going to politely decline, but only because that means going outside and the pesky sun is there.
So by increasing the diversity of your interactions with people, you're letting attraction become inclusive.
You know what would really speed up the process? Forced integration.
You're reconditioning that smart brain of yours to challenge judgments and stereotypes and go in a new and non-racist direction toward love and sex. You're staying curious.
In the 2 years I've been on YouTube, there are only 2 things that have genuinely made me curious, and it's not been sexual. The first one has been how somebody has been hate-watched so many times that they managed to get 10 times the number of subscribers I have. The other being how someone like you can continue to blame or make white people feel guilty for what happens naturally. It is maddening. Anyway, thank you all for listening.